Tumpang Tanya, Tumpang Tanya, Tumpang Tanya Pastor. Pastor, can I ask you something?
That scripture in 2 Corinthians 12, where God says, "My grace is sufficient for you." We must not take grace as just second chance, second chance, second chance, second chance, because that's not I don't think that's the real or only definition of grace. Grace, when God said, "My grace is sufficient for you," it means my grace enables you. And so when we are dealing with people and saying, "I want to show you grace," grace is not second chance. Grace is sitting down with you and saying, "Can I enable you to come early?" So let's not take grace further than what the Bible means. Because when God says, "I give you grace," means I give you the strength to go through this. And if you didn't have my grace, you won't be able to come early. If you didn't have my encouragement, my how can I help you? But if you only see grace as second chance upon second chance upon second chance without any help and any enabling power for that person to become a better person, I don't think we're doing a good job as a leader. You know what I'm trying to say? And I think that's important. In fact, sometimes I think about my leadership responsibility, that when I stand before God one day, because He asked me to disciple, there's very few instances where He asked me, "Go ye and show grace to people." But I'm very clear that "go ye and disciple" is that's clear. So when I stand before God, He's going to ask me, as He points to some of these people that I used to lead, and He says, "Kenneth, have you discipled them?" Because they are still late to heaven, and I'm sorry, I just couldn't resist saying that. Did you disciple them? Because I told you to, right? And so I don't know whether God will ask me the question, "Kenneth, you show them grace?" But I'm sure He'll ask me the question, "Did you disciple them?" So, guys, I tell you the truth. It's almost like the word that God says, "Are you a watchman? If you're a watchman, have you warned them? If you didn't warn them, you haven't done your job as a watchman. But if you warn them and they don't listen, that's their problem, but you are released." So I'm coming back to this discipleship. Did you disciple them or not? Just answer me this question. They were late 25 times. Did you disciple them, or did you just grant them grace because, hey, which did I tell you to do? And so I just, sometimes I just think to myself, God's word is so clear. I cannot interpret it in any other way. Yes, grace is part of discipleship, but remember, it's not just second chance, second chance, second chance. Grace is me as your leader helping you to become a better person. Yeah. And maybe if you can start coming early to church, you can start coming early to your job, and maybe then you will get your promotion. And then maybe that I hope to help you become a better person. And sometimes it starts in church. A lot of people learn to be a better person through church. Because there's a leader who cares enough to bring them through. So I just sometimes have got dreams like that when I come to heaven, what is God going to ask me? So I lean towards that, and I rather make sure that I'm discipling. Yes, disciple of love, disciple of grace. Yes, correct. But I rather lean towards that, and if I err towards that, than to only show grace and not disciple. And I like one scripture here in Luke 13 that says the master came to the plant that he planted, and he wanted to get fruit out of the plant, Luke 13. And he found no fruit, and he said to the servants, "Cut it down." My word, I don't know what kind of grace is that. But it's 3 years, that he waited for fruit, and there was no fruit. And then the servant says, "Master, would you please let it alone for 1 more year? And in this 1 year, I'm going to dig around the plant, put fertilizer, and see if it bears fruit. Well, if not, after this 1 year, cut it down." And so I told you earlier today that God is out for fruit, and He's out for profitable servants. And so yes, He's very patient, because for 3 years there was no response. And I think this is Elder Sharon's question. So when people don't want to grow, And again, as leaders, we try to dig around them and to put fertilizer. But if they don't, and after all that you've done, they don't, then that's the time to let them go, because we again are answerable to God. In fact, the scripture in Luke 13 says, why is this plant taking ground? Why is it wasting space in the ground? Because someone else, another plant could come in here and bear more fruit for the Lord's glory. So I think there's some people who do take up space and do take up oxygen that other people can do. And there are some people who take up the ground, take up your time that another person, if you invested in another person, they who want to grow would have borne fruit by now. So again, it's not so much just your choice, it's the other person's choice as well. It takes two to clap. God's word is very, very clear. I mean, 3 years, no fruit. So now mind, take one more year, this year, 2021, do your best. Dig around the plant, put fertilizer, but it's very clear, even after one more year and they don't, then of course the Bible is very, very strong. Cut it down. For me, it's just release them. Of course, sometimes we don't say that. We don't say, oh, you're taking my time, you're taking my space, you're taking the fertilizer that I could give to somebody else, So really, we don't say that. We don't say that because that's not nice to say. The Bible is sometimes more blunt than we are. But we don't have to say that. We don't have to say, hey, you're really wasting my time. We don't say that. I don't say that. I just think that I know that there are people who are actually just drawing out of you and giving nothing back to God. But if you gave that same time to someone else, that person would have, borne some fruit. So I think at the end of the day, please remember who you're doing it for. When you're discipling people, you're doing it as unto the Lord. And it is God that you finally answer to, You don't answer to the person you're discipling. You answer to the God who called you to disciple. And so, yes, please practice grace. Please have patience. Please have love. But please also know what God's word says in situations like this. And just be led and guided by both scripture and spirit. And remember, God is not going to take you aside in heaven and say, what I think many of you think that he'll say, why do you give this guy, enough chance, or stuff like that. He's really going to ask us, have you or have you not discipled this person when I brought him to your life? I don't know what you're going to answer, if there are excuses. Oh, but God, poor thing. I don't know whether God's going to take poor thing for an answer. Anyway, I think I've spoken enough. Just want to encourage you, guys. God will always be on our side when we are on his side. Yeah. So if you're doing it God's way, he will help you with that guy. And I tell you what, I've released some people before, and then they come back 5 years later. That also has happened. But if you do it God's way, he will deal with it. If you don't do it God's way, then you're not inviting his help. If you do it his way, you invite his help, and then he will make sure he deals with this person. Yes, in his own way. And I tell you the truth, if 12 people ever had this situation with me, about 10 has come back. That is the truth. Because you showed them enough love, and sometimes, yes, it's tough love, but you abide by God's word. And I tell you what, let God deal with the rest. But if you think you are smarter than God, then you're not going to get his help. And sometimes both we and the person will fail, and everything will fail. The church will fail because we're going by our compassion and our thoughts of how it should be done. No, it should be in alignment always with God's word. And that's why I'm trying to answer you in most of the questions. I'm trying to answer you with God's word and not just my opinion. Because it's important to know what we are guided by, leaders, and who we are finally answerable to.
Pastor, can I ask you something?